Hello, my fellow Gore Horror besties, to another episode of Gore Horror. I'm so excited to have you guys here today that are watching my podcast. Again, as usual, I'm going to say viewer discretion is advised, listener discretion is advised. This is talking about some tragic, horrible Christmases, and it's really sad. But today we're going to be talking about the Christmas horrors that might not leave you with too much festive spirit at all. This time of year should be all about fun and laughter, right? You would think it would be, with friends and family and red-nosed reindeer and roasting fires. And for most of us it is, but for some people, they just don't have that. Their holidays turn into crime, horrors, investigations, and some of them will never look at Christmas the same again, which is completely understandable. I mean, I would not either. So today we're going to talk about 12 different horrors. Might be a little bit longer of an episode. If you stay with me through the whole episode, please let me know your thoughts, how you feel, like that kind of thing. Or just let me know what your Christmas plans are. I would love to hear what you guys are going to be doing. I love interacting with everybody and things like that. So today I'm not going to be playing any videos like I normally do. There's just no video for me to share on these ones. So let's just get started right into it. So there was what they called the grim gift that was left under somebody's Christmas tree. 37-year-old Patty White offered down on her luck Michelle O'Dowd a place to stay over the festive period. My apologies, I'm not the best sometimes at naming people. So Michelle was delighted that the Christmas spirit was being shown to her, but White had an ulterior motive, which is just horrible. Like, she planned everything. So one involved stealing all of her housemates' credit cards, killing her, and leaving her among a trashed Christmas tree to make it look like a burglary. So she killed this poor woman who just needed a place to stay, was super excited for the holidays. She lost her life, and she just staged it to look like a burglary. So the scene was discovered by Michelle's twin brother, Phil. So Phil went to check on her after she failed to show up for work. So amongst a pile of wrapped Christmas presents, he saw his sister's foot, beaten and strangled at 67 years old, and just left among her gifts that she had purchased. Patty White would receive a 45-year sentence from a South Carolina judge for her vile crime. As she should. It should be life in prison. 45 years is not enough for what she did. Crazy. Next one we're going to talk about is a couple stabbed a man in the face, bashed in his skull, and set light to him on Christmas Day in a Kill Bill plot. Another premeditated Christmas murder. So, Victoria, Australia. It was Christmas Day, 2013, but instead of spending the day with loved ones, William Bill Stevenson paid the ultimate price for keeping poor company as his friends. So, meth addicts Danielle Kerr and Darren Lewis killed him in the most violent way conceivable. Their motives are not really clear either, but the pair drove to Stevenson's out to Bushland and began beating him about the head with a large rock, and Kerr then stabbed the man to death while cackling about their Kill Bill plans. The couple set the car on fire and just casually walked home, like they just, bye, like walked away. Thankfully though, they were both arrested, charged, and convicted shortly after. And it is just wild. Like, I would love to know what their motive was. Why did they do this? Why did they target this man? And especially if he showed hospitality to them and they were friends. Like, that is just so tragic. Like, it's unfortunate that you just cannot almost trust anybody these days to let them in your home. And it is just horrifying. This one that we're going to talk about is the marvelous teen gang that indulged in sickening festive killing spree. Disgusting. So there were 4 of them, and they called themselves the Downtown Posse. To the police and courts, though, they were simply Laura Taylor, who was 16 years old, DeMarcus Smith, who was 17-year-old, Heather Matthews, who was 20 years old, and Marvelous Keene, which is 19 years old. So between Christmas Eve and Boxing Day in 1992, the gang went on a murder spree in Dayton, Ohio. They would take 5 innocent people's lives and injure 4. And for what? Because they were a gang? But get this. They murdered people for not liking a gift enough. They didn't like their Christmas present. And honestly, Christmas is not about the presents that you get. It's about love and family and dinner and hanging out. It's not about the Christmas presents. I mean, presents are great, but it's not about the presents. So to take 5 people's lives and injure 4 over not liking a present, you could definitely tell that they were kids. They were just not responsible. So led by Keene, the gang's primary motive was robbery. But as soon as things got out of hand, as Marvelous Keene grew paranoid about snitches and effectively turned the holiday season into a hunting season. For his central role in the Christmas killings, Keene would go on to become the 10,000th American convict to be executed since the death penalty was reinstated back in 1976. While his cohorts would receive life sentences. So he got put on death row, and the other ones were just put on life sentences. So it's weird to me how, like, they determined that, but I'm assuming it's because Marvelous Keene was just going on a hunting spree. So he is exactly where he belongs. So let's get into the next one. The search for a missing Bristol woman turned into a hunt for her killer. Joanna Yates, I'm sorry if I said that wrong, I mean no disrespect, her disappearance a week before Christmas in 2010 made local news in Bristol almost immediately, and soon the search and appeal broadened and her whereabouts were of national interest. On Christmas Day, her body was found in the snow just 3 miles away from her home. And the case achieved notoriety for the media's handling of the first suspect, Joanna's eccentric landlord, Christopher Jeffries. He hounded and effectively labeled the murderer without proof, the UK tabloids did. The Mirror and The Sun were later found guilty in contempt of court for their poor coverage on this story. Jeffrey was later convicted and he was arrested and charged with her murder. And it is just so sad, like, that's her landlord. Like, what is your motive? Like, there is literally no reason for you to have taken her life, and it is horrible. So, the next one, as we're getting into it, the infamous child beauty queen murder that still haunts America more than 2 decades. So this one has been in the media a lot recently because there was a new Netflix that went out and they're still trying to solve this case. It's unsolved. A lot of people have some speculations, but we don't really know. So JonBenét Ramsey, on Christmas Day, she was murdered. And police could never officially ascertain the precise date that she was murdered, but it caused an enormous storm across America and the wild world. 22 years and 6-year-old callous killer or killers have not been identified. True crime buffs around the world have studied and obsessed the case over the young girl killed, apparently during a botched kidnapping. So there's countless documentaries, movies, books, articles, and everybody's just pointing fingers. But the mystery's never been solved. A lot of people accuse her parents. Some accuse her older brother. Accusations of a stalker are around, local child molesters, but they have never figured it out. But perhaps the eeriest suspect is Bill McReynolds. He was a local man hired by the Ramseys to play Santa Claus at a large party held at the rich family's house that year. But McReynolds died in 2002, swearing innocence in a case that will perhaps never be solved. And I'm really hoping now that they brought it back into the light that it will be solved, because that little girl deserves justice. And it is so sad, like, she was just a little baby. But there is so many speculations about the family, the notes that were left, just the way that her dad found her body and carried her limp up the stairs. Like, it was just, the police department, it was just disgusting how they handled this case. It was definitely gross negligence on their side, and I really hope that the killer is brought to justice. It was horrible. That poor little girl. Let's get into the next one. The Edinburgh woman, she stabbed her neighbor 29 times over Christmas present dispute. Again, another one that is just wild to me, that people will kill over what? Christmas presents that they don't like? Like, what is the absolute reason that anybody would just take somebody out for Christmas presents? Like, what happened was, 37-year-old Melissa Young, she gave police, when she was arrested for the brutal murder of her killing next door neighbor. So she said that Alan Williamson, on Christmas Day 2013, she claimed that he diminished responsibility and that mental health issues were behind and sustained for the act. But at the time, though, her motive was given rage due to Williamson was dismissively rejecting her Christmas present of a pair of unisex trainers and a copy of the Sun newspaper's slightly raunchy 2014 calendar. He didn't want to take it, and that's understandable. That's his decision if he doesn't want to take it. That doesn't mean that you kill him. That's wild. Young pleaded guilty to the horrible homicide in 2014 and was sentenced to a minimum of 20-year sentence. Since being jailed in a woman's prison, she has seriously assaulted 2 female officers, so obviously she didn't learn at all. Let's jump into a wild Christmas rampage. Like, people be wilding out, and it is insane. So, December 28th, 1987, Ronald Gene Simmons walked into a law firm in Arkansas and shot dead a receptionist who he was infatuated with, but she had spurned his advances. So then he went into the office of an oil company and shot 2 executives, killing one and injuring the other. He then drove to a convenience store, a former place of work, and shot 2 more people. But they both survived, thankfully. That's good. Finally, he would do the same at the Woodline Motor Freight Company, shooting and wounding a woman. He then sat down and waited for police to arrest him. Like, he knew that they were coming for him and he was ready. The spree killing just rocked the state, though. The murders were merely a bookend to Simmons' evil festive timing that he was just on a rampage. So 6 days previously, he had shot and strangled his wife, 2 sons, and 4 daughters. Which is so horrible, and it doesn't end there either. Simmons then sat in the house among the bodies for 4 days. He sat there, leaving only to visit a local bar. On Boxing Day, 9 more relatives turned up to visit the Simmons family, including Ronald Simmons' grandchildren, and all of them were killed. In a total, he took 16 people's lives. It's horrible. And on the 25th of June, 1990, the Arkansas governor signed Simmons' execution warrant, and he was killed by lethal injection. As he should be, because that was completely unnecessary. Like, oh, that poor family. So this one's going to be a shorter one, but it's about a Christmas fire that just tore through somebody's house. So the Sodders dedicated their lives to try and finding out what happened that Christmas, but later died in life without finding out. So they have no idea why their house caught fire. They don't know anything, and unfortunately, they passed away without ever finding out. It's horrible. Next, we're going to talk about the first and last family photograph that the Lawsons would ever have taken. North Carolina tobacco farmer Charles David Lawson made his wife, Fanny, and their 7 children put on their Sunday best for Christmas Day morning in 1929. As they would, they just wanted to look good for Christmas, as they should. For they were to go into town and have professional family photos taken. A rare treat for such a poor family, which is sad that that they even have it in the news that they were a poor family. It doesn't matter. At least I don't think so. So later that day, they settled back at home. They were going to be ready to enjoy their Christmas as a family and that kind of thing. But Charles would set about a methodically beating and shooting his wife, along with his 6 of the 7 children, until they were dead. But he spared a child, his 16-year-old Arthur. Charles had sent on a needless errand before his vicious massacre. The motive was never determined, though. Like, he took his family, got Christmas photos, went back, and then just massacred his entire family, but leaving the 16-year-old. I wonder what the motive was. Like, why did he spare one child but kill the other 6? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's just horrible. Then we're going to talk about Stagger Lee and the seasonal showdown, which sounds wild. That's a weird way to put it. Lee Shelton was known as a criminal and a pimp who went by the nickname Stagger Lee. He was famous now because of the folk song he would inspire. But Shelton wasn't a man to be trifled with, as William Lyons would discover to his cost. The murder took place on Christmas night in 1895 in St. Louis, Missouri. Stagger and Billy were drinking and playing cards together in a Bill Curtis saloon when they got into a dispute. But I mean, that happens at bars, the saloons back in that time. Lyons snatched Stagger's Stetson hat, and well, you've seen Western movies, like Stagger Lee drew his gun and shot him dead, and the rest is history. And it's in a song. I don't know what song it is, but I'm assuming that it has something to do with him shooting, and who knows. But it's a tragic situation that even had to happen. I'm actually only going to go over 11 of the 12 murders because one of them I already talked about, the Santa Suit Slaughter, and I uploaded that video already. If you haven't watched it, go and watch it. It is a horrible, tragic tale on Christmas Eve. That is it for my Christmas things. If you know of any wild Christmas tales that you want me to do a deep dive in, please let me know. I would love to go over them. Please be safe. Have a great day and watch your surroundings. And I will see you guys all soon. Thank you so much.